This episode contains adult themes and is not appropriate for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, the world. This is They Will Kill, a true crime podcast. I'm Sadiac.
And I am Courtneyek.
And we are in what's it called? Thunderstormville.
Thunderdome,
yeah.
Yeah, welcome to Halloween season. It's, I brought in a rain machine.
I have my fog machine going here, but you just can't see it.
Yeah, Sadie didn't think that through very well.
It's Courtney's night.
It is.
She's going to tell us a story.
I'm going to tell you a story, a very, very, very upsetting story. Very upsetting story. So, huge trigger warning for rape, incest, child sexual abuse, and suicide. Legit, you guys, if any of those things trigger you or bother you, skip on over this one because it's all about it, because this is the Children of God murder-suicide.
Oh my God. I've thought about doing this one 1,000 times and just could not do it.
Yes. I was inspired to do this case after recently watching the Children of the Cult docuseries on Discovery Plus, which I highly recommend, as it does an excellent job of telling the survivor stories through first-person accounts and really lays out the details of the cult's practices and abuses.
Good. I'm excited to hear about it because I've also thought about watching that documentary. Can't do it.
Oh, it's really good. But yeah, be careful what you wish for. Like this cult, I've always been, it's fascinating because it's so fucked up, but you really have to be careful what you wish for because, man, it's
terrible.
So far beyond. I mean, maybe one of the worst things I've ever heard about in my life. So here we go.
Yay.
The Children of God cult, which was later renamed The Family and is currently called The Family International, was founded in Huntington Beach, California in 1968 by David Berg.
Jesus,
wait for that
Yeah.
tsunami. Berg used his teenage children to help recruit other young people, mostly runaways and hippies, who were enticed by their message of love. Quote, Berg's church melded worship of Jesus Christ with 60s-era free love and preached a fairly standard cult leader prophecy. The apocalypse was coming, and soon.
And this is the 70s?
68.
68,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. And he thought the world was going to end in 93 or 94.
Oh, cool.
Yep. Did not. Just in case.
Oh, it didn't? Okay.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. One of the ways that the group gained new members was through, quote, flirty fishing, which entailed female followers, who were referred to as God's whores, or hookers for Jesus, having sex with men outside of the group to encourage them to join, and it worked. Shocker.
Mm-hmm.
At its height, the Children of God boasted 15,000 members and an estimated 1,400 communes around the world. As many of you probably know, Joaquin and River Phoenix were born into the Children of God, and Joaquin claimed that the flirty fishing tactic was actually what led to his parents leaving the group. Quote, they got some letter, or however it came, some suggestion of that, he said, and they were like, fuck this, we're out of here. Rose McGowan's parents were also members of the group and left when she was a child. People were drawn in by their desire to live a Christian life, the overwhelming love bombing they received upon meeting the group, and the overwhelming number of people who were joining. There's no doubt that the free love philosophy also had a massive draw. The group marketed themselves as a missionary organization who was spreading the word of God's love, but behind the scenes, the truth was much, 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 much darker.
I mean, we've said this every time we've ever covered a cult, but, like, I just want the groovy sex cult. Like, but, just...
Yeah. Yes.
Let's not hurt each other.
No. Consensual.
Right.
Chill.
Everybody wants community.
Yeah.
Can we just stop it right there?
Nope.
No.
Because personality disorders.
Mm-hmm.
David Berg preached what he called the law of love, which meant that, quote, God was love and love was sex, so there should be no limits, regardless of age or relationship.
No.
Yep. And so the practices of the group were a little free and kinky to start and slowly ramped up to justify full-blown rape and child molestation over the years. Quote, it actively encouraged sexual activities among minors as young as 2 or 3 years old.
Ew.
A previous member of the cult named Verity Carter said, quote, it became hell on earth for anyone born into it, she said. It happened a step at a time, and many of the adults did not see how extreme it had got until it was too late. A lot of parents did leave and take their kids out. Somebody else who was in the cult compared it to the frog in the boiling pot of water. You know, He was like, by the time we all realized what was happening, we were boiling. It was insane.
Oh, God.
Quote, the law of love is a doctrine that's meant to justify and conceal sexual exploitation, another previous member named Michael Young said. Quote, it's made to make other people feel obligated to give up their bodies to others' so-called sexual needs. That your body is not your own, you're supposed to give it up to God. Quote, Berg discouraged members from working and sending their children to school, according to interviews with 10 former members who were born into the group. The children of God were to eschew the world. Members lived in large communes, typically with 4 or 5 families under one roof, as they waited for the impending apocalypse. Berg published illustrated literature to encourage his law of love among the group's members, which said things like, quote, the devil hates sex, but God loves it. And that they should have, quote, sex before the fall, paired with explicit images.
Like before the fall of the world?
I think so, yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, maybe autumn, but I do think it was before the end. Wives were shared among families, and there was even a daily sharing schedule that outlined which women was scheduled to be shared with which men and on which day. And it included teenagers. As I mentioned before, the law of love didn't just apply to the adults in the group. Unfortunately, members were encouraged to talk about and engage in sex openly in front of their children. Every account I've heard from every child who grew up in the cult has countless memories of sex being around them at all times. They witnessed their parents and other adults engaging in sex and orgies, and unfortunately the children's exposure didn't end at simply witnessing the overt sexuality, which is more than enough to damage a child. The children were encouraged to have sex with each other, and it was taught that it was also okay for the adults to have sex with the children. In fact, it was openly encouraged. If you're still with me, it's about to get a lot worse.
I've had enough. This
Yeah.
is enough.
Second trigger warning. It's going to get really bad. Berg's closest wife was named Karen Zerby. Karen helped Berg come up with flirty fishing, and on one trip alone, she fished 18 different men, and Karen became pregnant with her son Ricky on one of her fishing trips. Berg wanted an heir to his kingdom of horrors, and so adopted Ricky and set his sights on molding the young boy in his gruesome image. He also decided that Ricky would be his poster boy for encouraging sexual exploration with and between children. Thousands of children in the group have likely suffered extreme sexual, mental, and physical abuse at the hands of the cult members, and Ricky's story is the perfect illustration of what that looked like. Ricky was raised by a group of women who also raised a girl named Davida, who wasn't his blood relative, but he considered her his sister. Davida remembers everything in her young life revolving around religion and sex, and that the expectation was that she and Ricky would eventually get married and take over the cult. The two were encouraged to have sexual interactions with each other and also shared the cult leader's bed. When Davida was just 5 years old, she was informed that she was going to become one of Berg's brides, and they had a ring ceremony to formalize the pairing.
I'm sorry,
5.
you said... Okay.
5. She was 5.
Oh,
Davida said the only time she was allowed to watch cartoons was when it was time to have, quote, loving interaction with Grandpa.
No.
Yes. She's like, I weirdly kind of looked forward to it because we had chocolate and cartoons and then sexy time. Ugh. Yeah. She says the abuse wasn't penetrative until she was around 12, and that during sex, Berg would oftentimes claim he was being inhabited by a ghost who was in heaven and would speak in tongues.
Oh, God.
She also recalls Ricky being forced to have sexual intercourse with the older woman in the cult from an extremely young age, and this has been confirmed by countless members of the group. River Phoenix reported that he has memories of having sex with older women when he was just 4 years old, and it's widely reported that it was a common practice for many of the women to have sex with the very young boys. And trigger warning for watching the documentary, I'm leaving out tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of details.
Well, I can't watch it.
Yeah. And yeah, anyway, we could talk about it at the end, but
Yeah.
just 15,000
Oh,
people.
God.
15,000 people let this happen. The most damning and downright horrifying example of this widespread abuse is the creation and distribution of the story of Davidito. The story of Davidito is a book that was printed by the cult and was essentially a manifesto that outlined potty training, discipline, and sex with children. Karen Zerbe wrote the book and directed Ricky and Davida to participate in sex acts that she chronicled for the manual. She also outlined her own sexual encounters with her son and encouraged other families to follow in her footsteps in raising their children.
Okay, like, I get pedophiles just figuring out how to,
Right.
like, have what they
Access
want.
materials or whatever. Yes.
What I cannot understand is the repulsion that most of us feel towards children sexually. Like, how do you turn that around? I mean, just brainwashing? Is that possible?
Pure brainwashing. I mean, obviously, yes. And that's what they said. They were like, they said that David Berg's mother was very sexually repressive and at one point caught him masturbating and like brought out a bowl and a knife and was like, I'm going to cut your penis off because you're disgusting. Yep. And so he was like, I don't want children to grow up with the sexual repression and revulsion and shame that I grew up with.
Sure.
So his way
Fair
of
enough.
justifying it, his way of justifying it, and obviously he wanted to have sex with children,
Right.
clearly. He had sex with all of his grandkids, everybody.
Ugh,
Yeah.
God.
But he was like, his justification was that it was good for them because it's natural.
Normalizing it or whatever.
Correct. And, God likes it. This is what God wants. God created sex. It's not bad. The devil thinks it's bad, but God thinks it's good. And people just became indoctrinated. And I think a lot of people in the documentary, there's a lot of people who were in the cult around this time when the abuse was the most prevalent. And a lot of them were not aware of it. And I don't think it was every commune, where it was as like I talk about this a little bit, but in Greece, it was very prevalent. Wherever Berg was, it was always very prevalent. There were leaders of different communes who were like, hooray, I'm a pedophile. This is fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. And so there were definitely people who weren't aware and were like devastated when they found out later. They just thought they were being like groovy Jesus hippies. Mm-hmm. But still, there's a fucking book. They published a book and distributed it widely among the cult. So,
right. It was clear that this was happening in some form or another.
Oh, yeah. And in the book, it's the picture of the children. I mean, it's very clear what they're talking about. And it talks about, and again, I don't want to go into the details because it's disgusting, but it's explicit. It's not just, cuddle with mom. I mean, it goes into detail about what to do and when and how and everything. Yeah. Yep. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, by the 1980s, Berg was on the radar of Interpol and was suspected of pimping, among other things, but we'll start there.
And where's Berg?
They moved around, so that's the thing.
Okay.
All of them moved around all the time, which is another reason that this is such a crazy fucking diabolical crime that was being committed over and over and over again.
Nobody could ever catch him.
Bingo. And if they did, and we'll talk about this more too, who has jurisdiction? Mm-hmm. Your cult leader molested you in 5 different countries, let alone like states. So, it's so fucking up. And I'm sorry, you guys, to tell this story, but this is a story that needs to be told again and again and again until everybody who is responsible is in fucking prison for the rest of their lives.
Until we can stop brainwashing people into believing having sex with children is okay.
There,
Raping them.
that too. Yes. Berg commanded that his female members send him videos of themselves dancing seductively and stripping to keep him company while in isolation, and that included his very young members.
So he's in isolation to avoid Interpol?
Correct.
Okay.
And at that point, they said that Karen, Davida, Berg, and Ricky were sort of the four of them were in major isolation. I think the other wives were in there with them, but they weren't spending time with the other commune members and people outside of like Berg's wives and his immediate family.
Are Ricky and Davida still children?
Bigger. They're bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a video of a 6-year-old girl named Celeste Jones, who is one of the major characters in the Discovery docuseries, doing a seductive striptease and says she was told she was dancing for Jesus. 6 years old. Mm-mm. And you can see it. It's available.
No.
Yep. Celeste lived on a compound in Greece, which was led by a man named Paul Peliquin, who was a devotee of the story of Davidito and followed its teachings closely. The children who grew up on the commune in Greece described growing up in what was essentially a pedophile ring, and the abuse was constant. Meanwhile, Ricky's abuse reached new levels when he was about 12, and Davida alleges that he was forced to have full sexual intercourse with his mother while in bed with Davida and Berg. The cult denies these allegations, but Ricky's words and actions as an adult lean toward this being true. Berg finally banned sex with children in 1986 after raids of his Australian compounds based on allegations of abuse, and those raids didn't actually pan out, which is so fucked up.
Oh my God.
They took away hundreds of children, and then the cases just all sort of fell apart.
Ugh.
And I think a lot of it was the brainwashing, and like the kids weren't willing to say what was going on.
Sure.
But very quickly, like they took the kids away, and then really soon after gave them all back. But it freaked him out, so he banned sex with children. And they made part of the deal with giving these children back was that they had to write a new, like, redefine their fucking bylaws of their communes and explicitly say that, yes, I swear.
That should be enough. You just
Yes.
take that and you read it, and then you say, okay, everybody in jail now.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know if it's said in there's books and literature, but I don't know if they had like official bylaws that said it was okay. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So Berg died in 1994, and Karen Zerbe took over the cult at that point.
So his world ended. He predicted that it would.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, so maybe he was onto something. She claims the cult's pedophilic ways are behind them, but has not been held accountable for her actions as one of the heads of the organization during the time that the abuse was rampant.
How is that possible?
I know. We'll get to that more, but yeah. So Ricky met Alexia Manuel, who would later become his wife, at a compound in Hungary when he was 19. The two played cards and talked until 2 a.m, and Alexia found a rose on her bed when she returned from breakfast the next day.
No.
Alexia moved in with Ricky and Karen Zerbe in their compound in Portugal, and Karen kept a tight rein on Ricky at the time as she was going blind and spending more time in isolation. Celeste, who I mentioned before, the 6-year-old that did the striptease, she lived with them at the time and said that Karen was very overbearing and told Ricky what to say, what to wear, and what to do, and didn't show him any autonomy or respect now as a grown man. Celeste also reported that, even though sex with children had been banned, wife swapping was still alive and well, and the compound was referred to as the, quote, house of the open pussy.
No.
Yeah, and that was extended to Alexia and Ricky, who were a couple by then. The abuses finally became too much for Ricky, and he became increasingly more angry at his mother and refused to give in to her demands. And in 2000, Ricky and Alexia left the cult and the country and headed off on their own without any money, formal education, or a place to go.
Get it.
I just think about them like getting on the bus or whatever. Like, oh my God. feeling probably so unbelievably scared out of their minds. And,
Seriously, and relieved and more scared.
yeah. And Ricky's physical demeanor changes over the years, but he was just such a like smiley, cute, sort of goofy looking kid, and I just, oh my God. So they made their way to Tacoma, Washington, where some other ex-cult members lived, and found a cheap apartment where they began their new life as free people for the first time. Alexia said that having choices for the first time in their lives was amazing, and even though their life was extremely modest, it was all theirs, and they were happy. Alexia said that when the subject of their past came up, Ricky would exhibit an anger that she had never seen before, and he simply didn't know how to express the rage and pain he carried around with him. The couple got married and found work for a while, were pretty happy and working to settle into a normal life. Over time, though, ex-cult members started to reach out to Ricky and put pressure on him to speak out and take a stand against their abusers from the cult. Ricky had been raised to be a leader in the cult. Everyone knew him, like he was a rock star, you know. They didn't have outside television or anything, and they had like a singing television show that they would do like music videos and stuff. And so those kids were super famous. Ricky was like the most famous of the kids because he was
Gonna be
he's
the heir to all of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So Ricky had been raised to be a leader in the cult. Everyone knew him, like I said, and he had a hard time denying his role, even in the outside world. The other members said that he was more likely to be believed since he'd spent his whole life with the leaders, and that he owed it to them to take down the people who had so severely abused them for so many years. Ricky internalized their pleas and began to feel extremely guilty that he was living a happy and somewhat normal life, and thought that he could maybe move on when others so clearly couldn't.
No, Ricky, you can. It's okay.
No, I can't imagine. The guilt and sense of duty eventually became so great, he started to form a plan and decided that his reason for living was to right his mother's wrongs. Baby boy. So in the summer of 2004, Ricky left Alexia in Tacoma and drove to Arizona to try to track down his mother and confront her over the years of abuse that he and so many others had suffered as a direct result of her words and actions. When he left the cult, he'd cut off all ties with her, and her whereabouts were a closely guarded secret, so his plan would be a difficult one. He learned that Karen had recently visited her parents in a Tucson retirement home, and so he moved nearby in September of 2004 to wait for her to appear. He reached out to his aunt, his mother's sister, who lived nearby and had long ago shunned the cult. His aunt and uncle were very supportive of his pain and anger and encouraged his bravery in leaving the cult and not turning to drugs and trying to find a new path for himself. He expressed that it was becoming increasingly harder and harder for him to go on as the anguish of his past and the magnitude of the abuse suffered by so many others really began to catch up with him. Ricky found a job, practiced martial arts, and joined a local gun club to bide his time while he waited for his mother to appear. I'm watching his uncle, like, just tears rolling down his cheeks, talking about it. It makes me tear up. So fucking sad. So in January of 2005, Ricky recorded an hour-long video where he outlined his abuse, how much pain he was in, how much he hated his mother and what she'd done to him, and how he planned to hunt her down and kill her. And if you look up Ricky Rodriguez, Children of God, you can find the video. It's on YouTube. It's kind of worth a watch. I mean, it's definitely worth a watch just to see his anguish, you know? He said he had a need for revenge and justice because he could no longer go on with so much pain and rage in his heart. He also talked about killing himself, saying that if the pain had just gotten a little better or more bearable, he wouldn't, but that every day it was getting a little worse. It just breaks my heart.
Yeah, no.
It's like, even if it got a little better, like this is like a little bit more bearable, I could do it. EMDR. If anyone's suffering from complex post-traumatic stress, EMDR. Tomorrow, I will help you find somebody. I was just like screaming because that wasn't a thing, and I was like, oh my god. Ugh. After he recorded the video, he got in his car and started driving and called Alexia and told her he was afraid of dying. She told him that she believed in angels and that when he died, he would feel love that he never got to experience in this world.
No.
She said that during multiple points in the conversation, he said he was going to pull over and kill himself. She said she thought he'd been up for 2 days at that point, and he started mumbling about how tired he was and that he was tired of thinking, and then he told her he needed to go and hung up. On January 9th, Ricky's body was found in his parked car, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Buddy.
They found a key card to a Holiday Inn Express among Ricky's things, and after searching the hotel room, they determined that he had taken a shower, drank a few beers, and then drove to a nearby isolated area to end his tortured life. When police spoke to an acquaintance of Ricky's, they learned that Ricky had made statements before his death that alluded to the fact that there might be another victim, and that victim would be in Ricky's apartment. They searched Ricky's apartment and found an elderly woman dead on the carpet, and it appeared that her throat had been slashed. The dead woman wasn't Ricky's mother, however, as he'd never been able to track her down to enact his revenge. The woman was Angela Smith, Karen Zerbe's closest confidant, and Ricky's childhood nanny. She was also a major character in the story of Davidito and the tale of Ricky's abuse, and was presented under the pseudonym Sue. Ricky had asked Angela over to his apartment on January 8th and planned to force her to reveal his mother's whereabouts. He had prepared a drill covered in padding and duct tape to try to silence it so that the sound wouldn't carry through the apartment complex.
A drill?
Yeah, drill. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
As well as a soldering iron and some barbecue tools.
Oh,
and
my God.
It's clear from the statements in the video he recorded that he planned to torture Angela with them until she gave him the location where he would find his mother. And he shows him in the video. He like walks through. He's like, I don't know anything about torture, but I have to do what I have to do. And then he's like, just gets super defeated. And he's like, I don't want to fucking do this. You know, he's like,
God,
I really don't want to do this. I don't want to have to be doing this. Yeah. Alexia said that during Ricky's final call with her, he said that the hardest part was that Angela hadn't understood what she'd done. She didn't comprehend that what the cult had done was wrong and the magnitude of their abuses. He said that he hadn't been expecting that answer and couldn't understand how they couldn't see what they had done. There were no signs of torture, and no one knows if Angela was able to provide Karen's whereabouts before she died. I'm assuming not.
right? He would have gone to her if so.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that she said, I don't know what you're talking about. You had everything, you know, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he flew into a rage and killed her. Mm-hmm. Davida has understandably struggled with drug abuse throughout her life and currently makes her living as an exotic dancer. She said that the abuses they suffered as children really do make you want to kill your parents when you grow up. She understands Ricky's motives more than anyone and wasn't at all surprised by his actions. And she spares no words when talking about it.
No.
She's like, yes, I want to kill my parents. Yes, we all want to kill our parents. What they did to us is unforgivable.
Yes.
In March of 2005, Ricky's friends gathered in San Diego to memorialize their tortured friend. Many of them had also been raised in the cult, and one said, quote, "The circumstances of Ricky's passing are very tragic and very uncharacteristic of Ricky as a person. Ricky would want this memorial, his memorial, to be a celebration of life, not a celebration of death, a celebration of love." They released doves in memory of Ricky, but also in memory of the other members of the cult who took their own lives or died as a result of other abuses like River Phoenix. And that list is long, around 30 people to be exact. Mm-hmm. In 2017, Verity Carter's father was sentenced to 3 years probation and was placed on the sex offenders registry in Scotland after she reported him for years of sexual abuse. Then in 2020, after a grueling 5-year investigation, Derek Lincoln, who was one of the heads of one of the sects, was sentenced to 11 and a half years in prison for the sustained sexual abuse of 2 girls.
11 years. 11 and a half years.
Yeah. But, so, that's a part of the docuseries, and Hope is the name of the girl who he abused, and you get to see her get the news, and she is so fucking happy.
Good.
She's like, he took 12 years, he gets 12 years. She's like, this is great news. But it was just so hard. I guess I'm assuming they don't have a statute of limitations on rape or child abuse in Scotland. So I think that's one of the reasons they were able to prosecute. But it's been a very, an extended amount of time, which is another part of the problem that these now adults are having in trying to get justice for the crimes, because so many countries have a statute of limitations on it. Not to mention, all the things that we talked about before, like the fact that they moved around constantly and there's no jurisdiction. And it's also, they didn't know where they were. And so the detective who did the investigation for that case, he said it was literally the hardest case in his entire career.
No, I can't imagine.
Yeah. Because she was like, I was 9 in a camping caravan in like blah, 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 and so
in the woods.
Seriously. Yeah. And they were, she's like, there was a church that burnt down. I remember a church. And so he would go back through all the historical records of the area.
Oh my God.
I know. We talk a lot of shit about police, but this guy fucking hip, hip, hooray. Like and you can see like the anguish and just like the heaviness of the gravity of what these fucking kids went through. He was like, I think he would have spent the rest of his career working on it if he had to, but ugh. So my greatest hope is that this is just the beginning, and that we'll hear more and more cases of similar justice play out around the world for the thousands of victims of this heartless and predatory cult.
No, man. No.
I didn't think I'd get so emotional, but
fuck, man. No. No, dude. That's not okay. I'm not okay.
No. I don't think anybody's okay after that one, right, guys?
No.
If you're still here, just lost every follower.
No, it's okay. That's okay. Goodbye. So it's still around? The cult is still around?
Yes, and strong. Still long around and strong. Yeah.
That's good. Yes.
Yeah, I think in like 2010 there were 1,400 communes worldwide.
Oh my God.
Yep. Yeah,
Oh.
and they claim that they're not abusing children anymore, but that some people have like held on to that tradition.
They have.
Yeah.
Just like in a normal, where it's just bad, there's still, you know what I mean? Like in normal society, there's plenty of children getting abused, like let alone this
place where it's justified,
founded on abusing children.
And everyone around you is like, yeah, it's good. It's definitely good. And you should do it. Not only should you do it, we're going to sort of mandate it and send out literature and command you to do it. Yeah. Yeah. It's so much worse. I mean, because we've all heard about the children of God for all these years, starting with River Phoenix, and like murmurs about it being, a sex cult and sex abuse and stuff. But I had no idea the depths of it. None. Yep. It's fucking...
I'm very upset.
Staggering. It's absolutely staggering. Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yep. How do you produce literature? They have literature, and like nobody intervened, and nobody... Well, that's not entirely true, because... the BBC started to pay attention to them at one point, and like Celeste's sister and mother had left, and then they came back and they were trying to get her out of there, and they were interviewing Celeste, and she was probably 13-ish, and she was just towing the line, she was just saying what everyone told her to say, and feeling super excited that she was like getting all the attention and getting the opportunity to protect the cult. And so I think that there were probably plenty of attempts at intervention, but the brainwashing was so thorough, and the constant moving around is even more isolating, and on and on and on. So if you were a victim of that bullshit, I am endlessly sorry.
Seriously, man. My mind is blown. I just can't.
Yep. We talk a lot about the capability to be monsters, and it's like when you hear something like that, you're like, that's not even monstrous. That's like genocide of a generation of children's fucking spirits, you know?
Seriously.
It's so far beyond like comprehension what they did.
Yeah. No, I don't. I feel like I'm speechless. I really just don't.
Yeah.
I can't. It's too upsetting.
Yep. Yep. I agree. So I don't know. I don't really feel like doing names today.
Yeah. Probably not names. We could do like a little check-in, maybe. Just how's life?
Yeah.
Maybe people won't care.
Well, I did watch another religious documentary that I can recommend to everyone. The Way Down on HBO Max. It's about the like weight loss church.
Oh,
it's so good.
Okay.
Very highly recommend it.
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I got stuck on a TikTok channel about a woman who, I don't know what, I think she's maybe just like a dietitian or just is interested in, like, she's a plus size woman and wants to encourage plus size people to be happy in their bodies sort of TikTok, but she was talking about The Biggest Loser.
Oh man.
And oh my God, it was like an all day rabbit hole of learning about all of the Biggest Loser ins and outs. And one of the winners lost 60% of her body fat.
Oh my God.
And so she's like, 250 pounds to start, and by the end she looks anorexic. I mean, just like literal skeleton. By the end of the season, she lost 60% of her body weight.
Oh my God. How is she okay?
Well, they don't know she's scrubbed her social media.
Oh no.
Yeah.
God, we are so awful. That fucking show. Oh my God. The Swan. Remember that show?
Yes.
Yes. For those of you who are too young, who didn't grow up in the 90s, it's a show where they just gave people full body plastic surgery.
Yes.
The idea being like, you're an ugly duckling and we turn you into a swan. And I've definitely gone down a rabbit hole of how that ruined plenty of lives.
Yeah, like all of ours.
Yeah.
We watched that as like teenage girls.
Yeah.
With our parents, like, I wonder how her like breast implants are gonna be.
Yeah, thanks the 90s. Thanks for Heroin Chic. Thanks for Kate Moss. Thanks for Fiona Apple. I'm not blaming those girls for being skinny, because as a skinny girl, sometimes people are just skinny.
Of course.
But that was what you were supposed to be. Fuck that.
Yo.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Oh my God.
Anyway,
super fun.
This was supposed to be a light-hearted part.
Maybe I will do some names. You want to hear some names? I feel like we all need a palate cleanser.
Let's do it. I just think we couldn't jump straight. We had to bridge it with disordered eating and fucked up television.
Additional religious abuse. Yeah, fun. Okay, guys. You guys just keep on keeping on with the names, and I love it, and please don't ever stop. It's also become names in the wild, which I love. Like, everyone's actively looking for them, as well as like catching up and being like, oh, I have one. But I love that you're all out there fucking hunting with us too. So
yeah, somebody recently messaged us and they're catching up, and they were like, I don't know if you're still doing the names thing. Oh yeah, we're still doing the names thing.
Yeah, I think this is forever.
Yes, as long as they keep coming, we're still doing it.
Yeah, we could just also do like an edit of each of the name sections of each of the podcasts and probably start a new podcast that's just called names, right?
Yes.
So one listener said, one of my teachers in high school name was Miss Barr, and almost named her Candy, and her parents almost named her Candy, and her brother Clark. Oh my God.
Why didn't you?
Yeah, they did not. They did not, because it wasn't me. I would have done that for sure. We have Dick Hammer tonight.
Yeah, we do.
I feel like we might have had a Dick Hammer before, but I always welcome Dick Hammer.
Always.
And a Steve Moorhead. Steve Moorhead, I see you. Fatty Arbuckle. Somebody brought, like, I can't believe we haven't talked about Fatty
Seriously.
Arbuckle. Someone said they worked with a guy whose last name was Perfect. Oh my God. In Michigan, there is a highway exit 69 for Big Beaver Road.
Yeah, there is.
Was it Dyke Access Road? That was a
Dyke
very
Access,
popular one in the
yeah.
Pacific Northwest. I was like, haha, it's my exit every time. Every time. And it was like right between Portland and Olympia, which is just like the lesbian fucking corridor of the 90s and current times. So
Where you
that was
access all the dikes.
there you go, exactly. Mary Tona Cocaine died at 94 and was survived by her husband, Christoph Cocaine. How?
Oh, I mean, R.I.P. Mary.
R.I.P. But how is there a last name Cocaine?
Wow.
They must have like phased it out at some point because these people were pretty old when they did. Somebody was like,
or it's pronounced like
cocaine.
exactly.
That's just how you pronounce cocaine in Spanish, I'm pretty sure. There's an island in Denmark called, I mean, essentially LOL land, Lowland, LOL land. There's a town called Middlefart. And the road signs that say fart control with a K, control. Oh my God. And there's a Jack Imhoff. And a town in Australia named Fucking.
No.
And they sent us multiple photos of them like on a bike tour.
Oh, man.
Posing with all the various fucking town signs. I mean, even more than how is there a last name Cocaine, how is there
a town
a
called
town
Fucking.
named Fucking?
Wow.
In Australia, in an English-speaking country, because it's Australia. You
guys.
sassy minxes. Oh, we know how you are. Too many Fosters, and you start naming towns, and the next thing you know, there's a fucking. You little minxes. We love you. We really love you so much because you are like one of our strongest listening bases. So
just don't stop listening.
Anything else?
Yeah, you guys, we just put out our first episode of the X-Files for the Halloween season.
Ooh, so tune in if you like scary stuff. If you don't listen to it.
That's really good. Courtney is really good at that, and I think I've mentioned before that she should just quit this podcast so she can start that podcast. Just kidding. Please don't quit. But it's really good, so go listen to it. And then tell her how good it is, because I have to tell her. She can't like fully believe me how good they are. They're fucking good. I am picky about my scary stories, let me tell you. These are fucking good. So listen. They Will Pill update. Still love my Lexapro. Like really love it.
Good.
Like really love it.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty lucky that it's been so effective.
Yeah.
It also could be like an accumulation of a lot of things, but it's like night and day.
Yeah.
Continues.
I've had a lot of friends who've had very, very, very good success with Lexapro.
Yes.
So
I just can't even, I can't believe that I lived the way I did for so long.
Right.
My 3-year-old just got sick, and that was a big trigger of my recent anxiety, was when my boys were getting sick starting school and then being like terrified of COVID and stuff. The 3-year-old got sick the other day. He's got a cold, and it was just sort of like, oh, well, let's get some Kleenex. You know, it was like
normal reaction.
Yeah, I paid attention to him because I'm his mother and I love him, but I didn't like have full-on panic attacks like I was having. So just I wish I had done it sooner. I I've said it before, but if you're feeling like you need it and you're just not really sure about it, give it a try. It's not, if you don't like it, you can stop. So
yeah.
Fucking
do it. Do what you need to do to feel better.
Yes, it has changed my life really quickly and dramatically. So
Fuck yeah.
Yep, I'm motivated. I've got I can do stuff. It's weird. So,
Good.
yeah.
Great.
Should we do some shouty outies real quick?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, yes. Bring them on.
Thank you so much to Tracy M.
Tracy's moving on to the big time. She is moving on to them right now. If you want to find her, Tracy, she will be on the dance floor. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much to Poppy Pancake.
Oh, yep. You knew what you were doing. You knew exactly what you were doing.
In parentheses. In parentheses, it says, she says real surname, and then gives the surname. Haha.
But
to you,
probably real first name Poppy. Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Fuck that.
I mean, you win all the prizes.
Yes. Yep. If you could see me bowing down, that's what I'm doing. Cutest, bestest, cutest. It's very versatile. You can wear it anywhere. You can be a Poppy in the club. You can be a Poppy at the business lunch. You could be a Poppy at the fucking Royal Palace.
Seriously, you just cannot lose.
Take it wherever, day to night.
Yep.
Always works, Poppy.
Yep. Day to night, castle to
the
fields.
London Underground. I don't know. Sadie's just going to heroin.
Right. Well, Poppy is from London. Good job. You knew that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, a way to try to divert from your heroin operation.
Oh, shit. Thank you so much to Sarah P.
Sarah precisely and perfectly approaches her next task, which is saving the world.
Yes.
And also while running a business.
Wow.
Fine deliverables. What is it called? Like a Christie's, like an auction house with valuables and things that people really want a lot.
Yes. While saving the world. That's a lot of work.
Very precisely. She's very precise. She's a very canny person. Was that a thing? Can you be canny if you could be uncanny? She's a savvy. She's a savvy person. And, if you need it done, call her. She will do it. Sarah P. on the case. She's got business cards. High stock quality paper.
But, yeah. Thank you so much to Rachel C.
Rachel C for kind. C for karate chop. C for kite. C for what else starts with a K?
Kangaroos.
I know, that's what I thought too, but it's not very good. What else? Ketamine? God, the worst of the K. My joke is ruined, but you rule. You are better than my joke, and we love you, and we thank you endlessly. Cupcake with a C.
Thank you so much to Melissa B.
Melissa, booyah! Girl. She's doing her arms are scissoring back and forth.
Yeah.
Kind of like Richard Brandt in the British Office.
Yeah.
And then she points. Like fireworks. Right?
Yes. Yep. And thank you, last but not least, our first Danish listener, Patreon listener.
It's insane.
Supporter. What am I trying to say?
So cool. They probably watched Chestnut Man. I'm pretty sure that's Danish. So welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good show.
So
Thanks for producing it.
Thank you for making it happen. Annette H.
Annette H. I love the name Annette. And the last name stands for how you been? A little eyebrow wiggle.
How you been?
How you been? You're sitting at the bar next to Annette, and she slides the drink down, whoosh, and you catch it, and then you do a cheers, and then you get up and you do a flash mob. You both know the same dance. A song comes on. What's the song? Probably yeah, it's definitely the song Tequila from my favorite movie, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And you do the tequila dance on the bar, and then you high five, and then you start a business together, and it's very, very successful. And you also start a charity branch of the business, and the rest is just history. You're just fucking awesome.
History.
Crushing
Her story.
Yes, the rest is her story. So we say it like that. Her story. Yeah.
Thank you for your support, everyone.
Yeah, so much. Thank you so much. So fucking cool.
I just turned my head funny and full on snapped my neck out of place.
Careful. Okay,
Yeah.
careful.
Is that all?
I think that's it. I gotta go eat some pasta. Laura made it for us, and I'm hungry for it. And it's
sounds
peas,
good.
Alfredo with peas. But if you miss us in between episodes, you can go to our Facebook, our Twitter, and our Instagram and find us at They Will Kill. You can go to our website, theywillkill.com. You can email us at theywillkillpodcast@gmail.com. And
Hey, I just updated our YouTube too.
oh yeah,
Not
get
this
on over
episode
there.
yet because it hasn't happened yet, but go to YouTube if you want to look at
If
it.
you want to watch, listen, you can stare at a picture of our logo and
That's
listen
right.
to it.
Yeah, but then I upload and people are like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're back." No, we haven't gone anywhere. I'm just really bad at uploading them to YouTube. So go to
Don't let
listen.
the people down.
I know. I need to get better about it. Rate, review, and subscribe, please.
Yep, someone just said we're their favorite podcast of all time.
know.
You're our favorite listener of all time.
Seriously.
Thank you for saying that. That's a really huge compliment.
Yep.
There's a lot of podcasts out there if you weren't
Yeah,
aware.
there is. I know. Maybe you should go listen to a couple other. I'm just kidding. Thank you, AJ Bergans, for our music.
Thank you so much.
And remember,
To put fucking pedophile cult people in jail.
Oh my God,
Tomorrow.
please don't
ASAP,
forget that,
ASAP,
please.
ASAP.
if you're like
whatever.
list of things to do, police officers that are in charge
Yeah.
of these things, put that at the top of your list.
Put that right at the top of the list. If there's anything I can do to help that process along, I will do it.
Seriously.
But those of you out there surviving and thriving, you fucking rule, and I'm so proud of you. And
Yes.
oy,
Yes. Life is hard. You are doing it. Keep doing
karma's
it.
a bitch. Yep.
Nope.
So, anyway, we love you guys,
Yes.
all of you guys, so much.
100%
and
love.
see you next time.
Hey, we're gonna see you soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.